What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to GR4 Sportsbar, your one-stop shop for everything beer, drinks, and of course sports, since that's what we are all here for. Sincere apologies for the unexpected hiatus. Just lost track of time for the last couple weeks and didn't really have anything really exceptional or really good that I wanted to bring to you guys. Again, as always, please make sure you guys follow me on Twitter. Make sure you guys reach out in the comment section or the DMs on Twitter at KingGeorge94. If there's anything specific you guys want me to talk about or any specific any beers you guys want me to drink and give a shot. So this week we've got just a pretty standard local craft, since we are going to be talking about something that I went out and experienced in real time. I have always been really curious about how Major League Baseball is going to end up making some sort of change to how replays, balls, and strikes end up being called. We've had a huge issue with it, especially seen in the last couple of weeks now that we've got some of our favorite Angel Hernandez umpires back on the diamond. So without further ado, gonna give a taste test to I guess a beer that I know I love and I enjoy. It is Tiny Bomb from Wiseacre. It is an American Pilsner. Again, this is a Memphis local, and how this kind of comes into play with what we're talking about this week is this past weekend I had the experience of going to a Memphis Redbirds, which is the AAA affiliate of the St. Louis Cardinals game, for the first time in a long time. It was absolutely steaming out there. It was not fun, and I definitely could have used one of these. Just look at that color. Just a very, I don't want to say plain, but just very classic Pilsner kind of smell, kind of finish on the nose. Light, crisp, pretty fairly carbonated. But as you can see, a lot of those bubbles end up dissipating pretty quickly. It doesn't necessarily go flat quickly per se, but it does lose that kind of sharpness from the high carbonation at first. Really crisp, really clean. Just a great local brew. Out of 10, this is probably up there, especially for a light beer, for a Pilsner. I'd probably put this at around that 7.5, 7.6 mark. It's really good. I can drink these all day, any day. Just absolutely incredible. And getting into the main topic of this and what made going to a AAA baseball game so interesting for me, and how this could possibly, and I hope probably, end up affecting Major League Baseball, is the automated ball and strike system slash Hawkeye system that I'm really hoping gets implemented into Major League Baseball soon. So, excuse me, if you did not know, AAA Baseball has their week split up. They have half the days, or not half, but just over half the days, 3 of the days that they play, where umpires are making each call, calling all the balls and strikes. However, the catcher slash pitcher and the batter all have individual challenges that they can make if they think a call was made incorrectly. Now, after doing a little bit of research, I thought it was one per at-bat, which I guess would have made things a lot more cumbersome and a lot more difficult to kind of govern or rule on when these challenges would be made. So there's also no input from the managers on this. It is all up to the players, but there are only 3. Each team only gets 3 of these challenges for the entire game, which makes a lot of sense now, because as I'm watching the game, keep in mind I watched this live, so I've really got a good look at how the system works and a little bit of just how it affects a fan's perspective of the game, and I found it really interesting. I really appreciated it. I thought the way that it was very well put together, very well done. I should add, it was not a very busy game. It's been absolutely steaming down here in the Mid-South for a little while now. So on a really hot Sunday afternoon game, I don't blame anybody for not being at the ballpark. It's a shame. I like seeing a big crowd, but if it was an evening game, or maybe even a little bit earlier, like an 11 or 12 matinee game, not at 2 p.m. I could see more people being at the ballpark. But Nonetheless, so the way that the system ended up working, and this I think really makes the implementation of it at the next level hopefully gain a little bit of traction, is so let's just say a pitch comes in and the umpire makes a call, batter doesn't like it, batter calls for an appeal, they call for a challenge. Immediately, umpire stops the pitch clock, which already has made its way to Major League Baseball. Stop the pitch clock, stop the timer, goes on over to his radio on the side, announces that the batter has made a challenge, or batter or catcher, I guess. The catcher slash pitcher, I think either of them can make the call if they think something egregious has gone wrong. Show it up on the video board. The umpire gets the call from the automated system, from the Hawkeye camera system, and boom. Whatever the system says, either the call is overturned or the call stands. That's it. That's the entire thing. So in the span of maybe 10 to 15 seconds out of what can end up being a 2.5 to 3 hour game, there's an immediate impact on the credibility of the umpire. Either, awesome, we can see that the umpire is making his calls correctly, making their calls correctly, or making their calls maybe not so correctly, which I think that's probably going to end up being one of the bigger sticking points with implementing this system, especially from the umpires union at the major league level, is if we end up going to this system and end up using this automated system, what does that do for the credibility of the umpires and the umpiring union? For certain umpires, I could definitely see that being detrimental. We see it all the time. I mean, shoot, if you guys want to go see one of my absolute favorite Twitter accounts, go on over to Umpiring Scorecard. I know they don't need my support at all, but if you guys want to go see some really, really interesting data and information, you can go over there, and they compile all the data and take all the pitches that an umpire calls. Doesn't take swings, fouls, anything like that into account. It's only what the umpire calls, and grades them, gives them a grade, gives them a percentage. Day in and day out, we see some of these where they're just absolutely egregious, just disgusting. And even from some of the most reputable and some of the most consistent umpires, we see these bad performances from time to time, and that's fine. That's okay, but those are the ones that stick out. There is not enough attention or love given to when these umpires do have a really good game. And that's kind of part of why I think the challenge system would end up working out a lot better than the true fully automated that minor league baseball, is also test driving right now. So like I said earlier, half of the days you have this challenge system, each team gets 3 challenges, players can use it whenever they need to or whenever they feel that they need to. The other days it is fully automated. They've used the Hawkeye system 100% of the game. Umpire has an earpiece, and boom, ball is in there, they make the call straight from what the earpiece tells them. And I can understand where a lot of people would look at that and say, well, that diminishes the human aspect of, umpiring and officiating a baseball game, and that also diminishes the needed skill set of a catcher. Well, what about framing? What about if it's completely automated? What is that? Does the catcher even have to catch the ball? If it just has to cross the plate within that 3D plane, and the ABS system is going to call it, does the catcher even need to be there? Or are they only there to just block the ball and make sure that runners don't advance? What does that do to a catcher skill set? What does that do? At that point, can more players end up playing catcher if they've got a strong enough arm? These are all questions that I feel like Major League Baseball, in a sense, doesn't want to answer necessarily, which is why I have a much stronger feeling and appreciation towards this challenge system that I saw live in action, and it is really, really quick. So I don't expect it to change the length of games, and that's something I know with instant replay a lot of people have a problem with, is the idea that instant replay is going to affect baseball, kind of like what happens with football, where you have multiple challenges, you have multiple ways that calls are going to get challenged, and some of these take minutes upon minutes. With the automated ball and strike challenges, that's simply just that's not the case. That's not even in the realm of possibility. That's not a problem at all that they're going to have to worry about. It is very, very quick and efficient, and that much I can certainly appreciate. Um, that said, I do think that it just needs a little bit more trial. I think we need to see this kind of process extended long term, where I think this challenge system, this challenge process is likely the way to go. It feels good. It feels natural. It feels human. It feels like something that they should have already kind of been able to do, but it's something that they're only implementing now that they have the technology. And they've almost always had this technology. I mean, so I was reading up a little bit on this as well. I mean, the Hawkeye, the original system, was made for tennis, which goes all the way back into the early 2000s when they started implementing this type of video replay for tennis. And they're just now adapting it for baseball and probably some other sports. But to that end, I don't know how long it'll take, because, and I don't know what this will actually do to help curb the problem of some of these umpires who are consistently just not up to par. And the thing is, it's not just young umpires. We see some of the younger umpires in Major League Baseball struggle, but most of the time they end up improving. It's these guys who are veterans who clearly have been in the game more than long enough, and it seems like to an extent they just don't care. The main one that obviously everybody talks about is Angel Hernandez, but that's also because of other issues outside of just his seemingly typical poor performances. But I don't know that implementing a replay system is the only thing that will help an umpire like that. There has to be some level of accountability tacked onto the back end of this. So I guess really to sum up my thought process and my kind of thoughts on this going forward, for a couple things, I guess one of my main points is I think this ABS and this challenge system, one of the things it's going to end up doing is highlighting just how good these umpires are most of the time. Every umpire is going to have a bad game. There's going to be a level of inconsistency with every umpire. That's just the reality of it. It happens. Everybody has a bad day every now and again. But at the same time, I think it'll also show how good a lot of these umpires are. For the most part, and I mean, seeing it in person, I don't remember having a single call overturned. I think every challenge was a 50-50 ball that ended up going just as the umpire called it from the ABS system. They were pretty much spot on the entire time, and the numbers are backing that up. Over 50 I think it's 56 to 57% of the time, which, although that seems like not a lot, but that's over 50%, and there are a lot of pitches called and a lot of calls challenged, especially when you get at least 3 a game per team. That's at least 6 challenges a game you're usually going to see. If almost 60% of the time the umpire is right, doesn't that just in a sense prove that maybe these guys are a little bit better than we give them credit for? And that kind of leads me into my second main point about this is I think as fans of the sport and as baseball fans, just kind of as a collective, I think we need to show a little bit more appreciation for the really good performances. I feel as though we always harp on the negatives. We, especially with all the changes going on with the sport, I know a lot of people don't like the pitch clock. A lot of people don't like the shift restriction. A lot of people don't like the bigger bait. Just these major changes that have happened, and how much, how much rage would that induce if they just tacked on another one? A lot of people wouldn't like it, but I feel like to that end, it would help push the game more towards where we want it to be and more of what we want to see, which is having the baseball on the field, having the play of the players decide these games, where we aren't seeing huge swings in win percentage or win plausibility based on a couple calls at the plate on balls and strikes, which is kind of where we're at now, where there's no accountability for umpires that do a bad job. I mean, it's not like we see these guys get pulled from home plate duty. I don't know that that's even a thing. It probably should be for some of these guys who consistently make these major errors. But at the end of the day, I think this challenge system will make things a lot more equitable for players, for coaches, for umpires, for these umpires that are in a sense trying to always prove themselves and say, hey guys, it's not just that I'm wearing the mask and wearing the blue and whatever else, or wearing this logo on my shirt that shows that I'm the authority on the field. My performance is backing that up too. And I think giving players the opportunity to, in a sense, challenge that in a respectful and effective way is a good way to also go about showing, hey, look, we're here for a reason. We know what we're doing. We know what we're about. And so far, I think the results with the ABS and the challenge system have been backing that up. That's really all I've got on the subject. Let me know what you guys think about this challenge system and about the potential of automatic balls and strikes being implemented in not just minor league baseball, which it's in a sense going on now, but also in the major leagues. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys want to suggest any beers, any drinks, anything for me to try out, or any topics for me to talk about, please drop it in the comments down below. Make sure you head over to my Twitter at KingGeorge94, and my DMs are open. Please give me a follow, reach out, tweet me, at me. I will see it. I always have my notifications on. It's an open door policy pretty much. So come on in, come on into the sports bar, and always have a seat, have a drink. Cheers.